Jackson Podcast.
What's good with y'all on this Sunday, man? You know, I love Los Angeles. I've celebrated one of my anniversaries out there. I've been multiple times. Uh, the food, the culture, the Dodgers is my favorite team. I've had so many experiences. Malibu, the places that I love the most, is burnt down. Is this, I'm just trying to get up to speed, but this immigrant situation and migrants and all of that, is this like blowback from the Biden administration? During the time when the presidency was being ran for and Kamala and Trump was running, I think this contributed to her losing. You know, I'm an independent. I look out for the best interest of the people. That's just who I am as a person. But I think this is part of the reason why she lost. You know, we seen them sending money to Ukraine, billions and billions of dollars, and we supposed to be 30 plus trillion dollars in debt. How is that you doing what's best for the people? We seen migrants come into the country like never before and they came in so much that they started feeling like they deserved rights and they coming in illegally. America is a country of rules, laws, and regulations. If you don't abide by those rules, laws, and regulations, there's consequences, even for the people that's from here. So let's get into the video. Let's see what's going on, man, in Los Angeles, one of my favorite cities, man. See what's popping.
We have breaking news now. You are seeing protests erupting in the Los Angeles area tonight as law enforcement squares off with crowds protesting immigration raids in the city. For 2 days in a row, the LAPD has used flashbangs and tear gas to clear demonstrators. The Trump administration is deploying 2,000 National Guardsmen, a move California's governor called inflammatory. And the FBI says it will investigate protesters for interfering with federal agents. Let's get to CNN's Julia Vargas Jones now, who's with protesters who've gathered in downtown Los Angeles. And Julia, what have you seen so far?
Hi, Brian. Look, we are here outside the federal building in downtown Los Angeles, where protesters are saying, they don't want ICE in Los Angeles. They're chanting out with ICE, release the people that have been arrested. There are about 118 people that were arrested, according to the Department of Homeland Security, in the several actions that took place in Los Angeles this week. Some of them here in downtown Los Angeles, 3 of them on Friday, and then again today in about an hour south of downtown Los Angeles in the town of Paramount. That is where we saw some quite stunning video of protesters, community members stepping in and kind of stepping in the way of federal immigration officers as they were staging for a potential raid there. Brian, we are also hearing the calls for the release of, you can hear it from David Huerta, a prominent activist and union leader here in Los Angeles that was arrested as part of these raids. The National Guard, we are expecting the National Guard to arrive in Los Angeles soon after President Trump authorized about 2,000 of them to come in. Now, we also did hear from Governor Gavin Newsom his statement saying that he thinks that this will only fan the flames of these protests, which right now are quite small, even though these images I know are striking. Not sure if we have those right now, but earlier today in Compton, just near Paramount, where these ICE presence was known earlier today, we saw a car set on fire. We could see protesters with Mexican flags setting that car on fire. That's, again, just an hour south of where we are. Just to give you that sense of how dispersed these actions are and how they are targeted, these specific locations where ICE raids are, or here where this detention center is, where some of the people that have been picked up in these raids have been brought to, Brian.
All right, Julia Vargas Jones, I want you to stay with me. I also want to bring in now CNN senior national security analyst Julia Kayyem. Julia, if you're with me, you just heard Julia there describing the scene, but from the images that we've been putting on our air so far, what stands out to you at the moment?
So there's unrest. Let's start with there's protest, lawful protest, which is allowed in this country. There is some unrest, generally dealt with by local law enforcement, and if there needs to be state support through state police. And sometimes even National Guard under a governor's authority. What is happening tonight is unprecedented in a variety of ways. Generally, when the National Guard is federalized to be deployed into a state, so understanding that it's called Title X federalization, and it means that the National Guard goes from reporting to the governor to reporting to the President of the United States. Generally, historically, when that's done, there's only two instances. One is when a state is overwhelmed. And so think Hurricane Katrina. I just looked up the numbers. In Hurricane Katrina, about 7,000 National Guard were federalized. So under just the comparison to 2,000 for a couple of hundred protesters, you can just get a sense of the sort of reaction that the Trump White House is having. The second type of instance where you would see a president ignore a governor's wishes is if the governor defies a court order. So that's Little Rock, the civil rights cases in which the president federalized the National Guard to allow to support the Supreme Court's decision. Modern history hasn't seen something like this, and I think that's why Gavin Newsom and certainly our reporting from Josh Campbell regarding the concerns even in local law enforcement is now there's this federal overlay that is hostile to the sort of the way it generally works. And there's no training. We don't know what their rules of engagement are. We don't know why 2,000 have to be deployed. I'm looking at the pictures. I'm not minimizing civil unrest. Violence should not be used. It's against the law to disrupt a federal law enforcement action. But we have tools to do with this that are far less, let's just say, caustic.
I want to speak of the imagery that I see for a moment, and the 2,000 National Guards being deployed to Los Angeles, how aggressive that is. And I feel like that's necessary because these people are coming over here, and no disrespect to Mexican people, because I have a lot of friends and I have co-workers that's Mexican, and it's just you have to do things legally in America. If this becomes allowed, then it creates a state of lawlessness. And America has been successful through legalities and rules and regulations. If you really wanted to come over here and do right and obey the law and everything, you wouldn't be flying your flag and representing where you're from as heavy as you representing it. It's like, you want to become a part of this capitalist structure, then you have to abide by the rules. The Biden administration allowed this. The governor, he should be held accountable. I even want to play a video and see what the mayor is saying about this in Los Angeles, or the governor, or whoever. Have they released any statements or said anything on CNN or Fox News or whatever? Because that's a Democratic state. Democrats always win that state, and as mayors, governors, presidential votes and everything. And this is what they allowed during the Biden administration years. Now they have to deal with it. And if they was okay with it, Trump wouldn't have to be so aggressive by bringing the people in to get the people out. It's just interesting. This is really interesting, man. Let's get back to it, though.
Than what Donald Trump has decided to do tonight. And I just want to put that in historical perspective. Some of our viewers will think that's right, but historically, this is not typical. And the numbers, when you just compare this to Hurricane Katrina, those of us who remember Hurricane Katrina, entire city and court system underwater, you get a sense of why Governor Newsom and local law enforcement are very concerned about what's about to happen.
I know California leaders had said that this will only inflame the situation. When you think of the historic nature of this, that this hasn't happened where there's been that transfer of power to the president from a governor since Katrina, is there any oversight for that situation in the aftermath to be able to look and say, was this done above bar? Or was this legal? What's the situation there?
Well, one historical precedent is the LA riots. That was actually cooperative as well. And the after actions that I know very well, this is my space, this intersection between military, homeland, civilian, is that it was there, but for the grace of God was there not friendly fire. Because, look, our federalized troops are trained to do something, and that something is the use of force. They are not trained to de-escalate a political situation, civil unrest. The language that's being used by the White House, I'm from LA, I'm looking at people running errands. Like, this is not a city that is not able to function. And so the Trump White House has now lowered the bar. And so in terms of operational planning, we don't know how they will be deployed, what the rules of engagement are. Are they working, or are they in conflict with the Los Angeles Police Department? This is a sophisticated department, quite large. And 2,000 troops, again, is a lot.
I'm going to look for a video, seeing if there's,
Hello, I'm Nikki Schiller. Welcome to...
Hold on. Seeing if anyone is addressing this, like in leadership in Los Angeles. Because, it could be violence happen from this. It could be, some people could get popped. It's depending on how they react to it or whatever. It's like, bodies could start dropping. To Trump deploying National Guard. Okay. Let me see who react to it. If any of them react. Okay. Trying to find this content for y'all, man, so we can. Mayor Bash speaks. This was 14 hours ago, though, so. See what Mayor Bash say, man.
Now, I believe we have Mayor Karen Bass on the phone with us tonight. If that is true, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's good to have you here. First of all, Mayor, we'd like to ask you your reaction to what we saw last night and then what we saw again today.
Well, I just have to tell you that, there were many, many families that were traumatized by ICE coming to the workplace, or what happened at the Home Depot to the day laborers center. So people are very traumatized.
I'm sorry, I got to stop it already. Caring about the trauma of the people that came over here illegally is crazy. You knew what you was doing before you did it. I don't know if the countries these people coming from, they don't have consequences for their actions, but this is America.
Kids and families went to the workplaces to see if their kin were actually there or if they had been moved. We know now that most of the people that were detained have been moved to an outlying area, Adelanto. And one of the biggest issues is the fact that the detainees have not had access to legal representation. Now, having said that, and I absolutely believe and have been pushing, even at the level of the White House, that people be allowed to have legal counsel. Having said that, there is no excuse for violence. We cannot have violence in this city. Even if people feel what has happened is terribly unjust, we cannot tear our city apart.
Mayor Bass, on that point, the Trump administration has named you and other local and state leaders here in California directly saying that you guys are to blame for some of the agitation that we've seen, these agitators clashing with law enforcement at night. What is your message to, in response to that? And have you been in touch with anyone from the Trump administration?
Yes, I have been in touch with representatives of the Trump administration. Obviously, I reject the notion that I personally or the governor had anything to do with the protests that have taken place in our city. I have been clear from day one, everybody has the right to express their viewpoints, their First Amendment freedoms in this country, but it is never acceptable for that to reach the level of violence, period. And if violence occurs, people will be held fully accountable.
Everybody do have the right to express themselves in a peaceful manner. But those people are over here illegally. From the jump, they're over here illegally. So they don't have no perspective. I know we're human first. I got to think of it from a human aspect. It's just, to me, when I think about this and I think about like their leadership over there, I remember when the California fires happened and Mayor Bass and Trump's interaction, it seemed as if she didn't care about the people. Like she was trying to slow down the process. And Trump was saying, give them the money. Let's get this process moving. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get to work so we can fix this situation. They are overcoming fires. They are dealing with migrants and immigrants. And the Olympics supposed to be here in a couple of years. What are they going to do to clean this up before the Olympics come?
And your reaction to President Trump calling in the National Guard?
Well, I most certainly hope that that is not needed. I understand that he has federalized the National Guard and that 200 troops could be available, but I did talk to the administration and I told them that I did not think that that was going to be necessary in the city of Los Angeles. And of course, my concern that a militaristic presence like that could actually result in more violence in terms of people in the city. We have been through this before. I was here in 1992, and the last thing I want to see is a repeat of that. So I think that the federal government needs to have caution. I do believe, after a couple of conversations I had with high representatives of the administration, that there will be caution. That's what I am hopeful for, because I do not believe that this will be necessary to have a presence of 2,000 National Guard troops in our city.
Mayor, this is Conan Nolan. Listen, in just talking a little while ago with the U.S. Attorney for the Central District, Bill O'Saley, he was pleased with your comments about people should not be rioting, people should not be there should not be violence on the streets of L.A. or any other city in Los Angeles County over this. But at the same time, he said, listen, we've been doing this for months now. What we've been doing is nothing new. What is different, he claims, is that there's now a system by which any kind of information about an ICE operation sends out through social media, and it galvanizes this kind of response. For example, he said that they were staging outside a federal building which happens to be next to the Home Depot in Paramount. They weren't operating. Home Depot was not part of their operation. They were sending agents to various places for single issue search and arrest warrants, which they said they conducted. But they said they're seeing the U.S. Attorney is saying they're seeing a very troubling pattern of them being followed, and all of a sudden social media is advocating for people to show up and commit violent acts. Do you have any information from the LAPD that that's the case?
I wanted to talk so bad during this time because I'm just looking at the imagery, and I'm going to let her finish her point. And they flying their flags and everything. Why don't you just go back home? Why you want to be here so bad when you flying your flag, the Mexican flag? Go back home if you love home so much, like the representation, or is this a takeover? Are they showing that they're about to take over? One thing that I know about LA is that homes, you can get a home in Compton and it be $600,000 to $700,000. It's one of the most expensive places in the United States. And to think about the prices that those people are paying and dealing with this foolishness right now, and the mayor and the governor is not contributing to the well-being of the people. The fires ain't even completely fixed and everything. I would get the hell up out of there, man. Real talk. Even though I know people heart and soul is in Los Angeles. But me going down Skid Row, being acknowledged of Skid Row. Then I was downtown LA. I went downtown with my wife in LA and I seen how junky and dirty and I couldn't even breathe. Like I was congested when I was in Los Angeles because the weather, the air and all of that, I was blowing, snot and all of that old type of stuff though. But just seeing this foolishness and this imagery is crazy. I'm gonna let her speak and finish her thoughts about the question that was asked from the interviewer. And then I'm gonna get up off of this thing, man. But I'll be back to continue to report on this because this is very interesting to me to see how they're conducting themselves and see how one of the nation's, the second largest city in the nation, is dealing with this migrant crisis that was inflamed by the Biden administration. Let's keep it going.
Well, let me just say that I think it's an example of the fact that Angelenos have seen these situations happen around the country, and you can only imagine if they were organizing across the street from a Home Depot where there's day laborers who in many instances are undocumented. You can imagine that they were fearful, that they thought that they were going to be experiencing a raid. My understanding is that people were running through the parking lot. I don't know if it's true that they were being chased by ICE, but listen to the setup you just described. Of course, people would feel very much afraid because of what happened. And then I know that there was the incident in Paramount. So I think that it is important that when the federal government is local, that they coordinate, or at least communicate, I would say, better with local officials so that people know that this is happening. So the word on the street was there was a raid at Home Depot. And those kind of things create a sense of chaos and uncertainty in our city, and that doesn't help anyone. And that also, I believe, makes the city vulnerable to violence because people are just reacting. If people knew what was happening, knew what was going on, maybe the reactions wouldn't be what they were.
I'm going to finish this video off right there, and I'll be back to discuss this topic, though. But I don't think that the federal government owes the local authorities anything because y'all let this get out of control. Y'all leadership isn't leading. It's just letting chaos go on, more chaos go on, and y'all are operating at $1 billion a year in debt in that city. It's interesting to see Los Angeles and California fall the way it's falling. One of the most beautiful places on the planet, too. California, at one point in time, was like bringing in more money than whole countries. It was the most financial lucrative state in the whole country. I don't know what's going on there now, man. That leadership got to change, and I'm talking about they got to change ASAP. Thank y'all for tuning into my show, man. I appreciate y'all, like always. Peace, love, plenty of abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone. Chill.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.